Welcome back to another episode of Geekorama, a podcast by geeks for geeks. We are produced by superhero-fiction.com, the one-stop shop for all your superhero novel needs. We are your hosts.
I'm Jeremy Flagg, author of the Children of Nostradamus series.
And I am Trish Heinrich, author of the Vigilantes universe.
So for this week's episode, we're going to talk about me. All about me.
It's all about Jeremy.
So what we're going to do this episode and the next episode, we're going to kind of talk about our own books, our own writing, kind of, what brought us from point A to point B type thing. Mm-hmm. We generally don't like talking a whole lot about ourselves during the podcast episodes because it seems pretty self-indulgent. But after 29 episodes, we've just decided to completely dedicate one episode to ourselves and be entirely self-indulgent. And it works out because this is my birthday week. So it's all about me.
I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that before the show.
September 13th. So
Happy
Sunday.
Birthday!
My boyfriend's sister is getting married on the 12th, and I keep telling her, thanks for the birthday present.
Aw, happy early birthday.
Yeah, it's not a noteworthy birthday, unfortunately.
That's okay.
Happy
birthday.
So before I get to ramble on about myself, how about some pop culture trivia?
Absolutely. So I was inspired by last week's talking about Jackie Orms, and I thought, you know what? Why don't we highlight some some women that aren't well known within the comic book industry? So I am going to talk a little bit today about Dorothy Woolfolk, and I'm probably butchering that name. And she is considered one of the first female comic writers. She served from 1942 to 1944 as an editor at All American Publications, one of the three companies that would merge to form the present-day DC. Then she spent the next 2 years at Timely Comics, the 1940s predecessor to Marvel Comics. And in 1948 was an editor at EC Comics. Woolfolk is said in 1993, when she was being interviewed, that she had found Superman's invulnerability dull. So this is the 1940s when Superman is, he's still a fairly new character. And she said that she had mentioned to her colleagues that DC's flagship hero might be more interesting with an Achilles heel, such as, maybe an adverse reaction to a fragment of his home planet. So Bill Finger took that suggestion from her, and voila, we have the fictional metal Kryptonite, which made its first appearance in the comic story Superman Returns to Krypton, which is Superman number 61 in December of 1949. Thank you, Dorothy, for the invention of Kryptonite. She also occasionally scripted some comics. So she, including an unknown number of Wonder Woman stories in the 1940s. So it's not, she wasn't given credit for any of those. So nobody is exactly sure how many she did, but it is known that she either kind of doctored them. She acted kind of like a script doctor, or she actually full on wrote several Wonder Woman comics in the 40s. And it makes her the first woman to write in that series. Also, with Ruth Atkinson and Ruth Roach, she is, among the first female writer in comic books. She also wrote for a science fiction magazine called Orbit during the 1950s and in the 1970s. Oh. Yeah.
I have old issues of that.
Do you? Well, you might find some of her stories. And in the early 1980s, she was the author of the 10-book Scholastic Press young adult novel series about teen detective Donna Rockford. She died at Mary Immaculate Hospital on November 27th in the year 2000. In 2018, she was posthumously given the Bill Finger Award at the San Diego Comic-Con.
So can I just say that the Bill Finger Award, every time this comes up, I think, aren't there policies against this?
It's a bad name for an award, honestly.
William Finger. No, you know what? No matter what you do, it sounds wrong.
That last name is an issue, honestly. But here's the thing, is how many people didn't know that we had Dorothy Woolfolk to thank for kryptonite, for the invention of kryptonite.
And it's not even so kryptonite, well, you know, every comic book fan knows everything about it. Kryptonite is in the common vernacular beyond comics.
Yes.
Everyone will say, "Ugh, chocolate ice cream is such my kryptonite." So, like, that was even one of those things that like transcended geekness.
Yep.
And just it exists. It's common.
It's part of our everyday vernacular. Yeah.
I remember, so I'm driving through Elton Woods coming home from Bangor, which is an hour away from my house growing up. And all of a sudden, 3 doors down, Kryptonite comes on the radio. And I remember I'm in the Elton Woods, which is only 2 lanes wide. There's no, like, you drive off and you die.
Oh my God. And
that song comes on and I'm like, oh my God, there's a song about Kryptonite. That is so funny. Did a 3-point turn, drove back to Bull Moose Music, got the album, and then realized the rest of the album sucked.
Oh, they tricked you.
It got me to buy an album because the word Kryptonite was in it.
There we go.
So now I can blame her for a bad album.
Thanks, Dorothy. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
So switching gears, what are you geeking out about?
So this is going to be a whole different brand of geeking. So if I haven't brought it up before, I'm a teacher by day. I teach university in the evening. So I teach. I do a lot of it. My day job, I teach graphic design, and at my night job, it's just job. I'm a graduate creative writing professor. So it's kind of nice in the fact that I went to school for art and graphic design, and I now am a writer. I do all of this. So I get to bring education in both sides. And so the weird stuff I've been geeking out about is about, this is going to sound super dorky, even for comic book folk, educational technologies. Bear with me here. I got super excited. Okay, yeah, it's bad.
Just go with it.
So teachers right now are preparing to go back. Some teachers have already started. Some are like, I'm currently in the planning phases to go back next week. And of course, the school year is not going to look anything like it has in the past. And so last year when all of this happened, we were in survival mode. Everything was just a horrible shit show, and it's still a horrible shit show. But this year we're going to be prepared for a shit show.
Well, theoretically, anyway.
Yeah, we're not.
No.
I promise you, we're trying, but we're not. And so I went to school online. I teach graduate school online. Like, my background is in online education and pedagogy. So, like, I'm good at online. I'm excited for this year. And so no school is prepared to do this. Like,
that's true.
Not. And so everyone's like, Zoom this and Zoom that. If I have to hear the word Zoom again, like, all I can think in my head is Sheldon on Too Much Sugar, just going zoom, zoom, zoom all over the place. So we have to find like a whole lot of tech solutions, and we're not being given a whole lot of guidance. And so it's been weirdly fun trying to find the solutions I need for my class, and simple things like, okay, a parent needs to get a hold of me. How do they reach me? They can't call my office phone.
Nope.
And I'm not giving them my personal cell phone.
Oh, hell no.
So I had to get this app called Remind, which allows us to text and call each other, but it shields both parties' phone numbers. Yeah, it's super awesome. And you can text with the kids in class. So kid has a question on Zoom but doesn't want anyone else to know, they can just text you directly.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
It's so much better. And so every teacher has like a very specific need. Like physics teachers need to be able to give quizzes on a quiz platform that goes to the decimal place 4 zeros. So thousandth place, I think. Not a science teacher. It doesn't exist. So how can we make this work? So I have been doing awesome with this. It's really kind of fun to be this think on the toes, like run around. And so I've been getting to experiment with an uncanny amount of tech in the last week. It's aggravating in the fact that I'm like 99% of what I've discovered and learned doesn't do what I need it to, but it's fun. It's like being given an entire toy store of fun things, but you were told you can only have like 2 toys. So now,
but you get to test it all out.
Yeah. So like, I get to play with everything, but I can only decide on those 2. So I kind of am a kid in a candy store right now, and I'm having way too much fun, which how many teachers can be excited about not teaching, but the research in there. This is I would rather be an educational consult. So if you got that job listed, like, come call me.
I wonder if after this year, we aren't going to need somebody with the expertise you were talking about. Like, I'm listening to you thinking you could actually invent this job for yourself.
So a lot of schools, because they're going to be going to the hybrid model, and a lot of these districts are saying like 20% of the students refuse to go back because not even COVID, just home, they work, kids work 2 jobs.
Jeez.
So they need alternative school methods. So we're talking about creating an online academy, and I was like, I'm the only one in the room that knows what they're doing.
Yep.
So, but I've also learned that being the only one in the room that knows what they're doing just means most of the time I'm aggravated while everyone else screws things up.
Well, and you're like always the person that's called, which kind of can get old after a while.
Which tomorrow I am giving a presentation to a bunch of physics teachers. So how many times can I reference Schrodinger's cat, Big Bang Theory, and I don't know. I'm just going to pick some weird random fact and completely misuse it over and over again.
Oh my God, you're going to make their heads explode. You really are.
Excited.
It is awesome.
So that is probably the geekiest thing I could ever in my life talk about. And
I love it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So what are you geeking out over?
So I have actually several choices. I now have a list that I'm going to, because I've been consuming some really great content lately, because Dan and I just are like, let's watch this and let's watch this. So this week, this is something I actually saw a couple weeks ago, but I just haven't gotten around to talking about it. Bill and Ted Face the Music.
I'm so excited to hear about this.
So I am a big Bill and Ted fan. I loved the first film. Like, literally, it is one of those movies that if I'm scrolling, well, back when you used to like channel surf and I would see it on TV, I had to stop and watch it. I loved it. Second one, not so much, but it's Bill and Ted. So even though it's a train wreck of a movie, it's still close to my heart. This movie, apparently, they wanted to make this movie for like something crazy, like 20 years. It's been 20 years in the making for this movie. And they finally get enough funding for it. And I'll be honest, I was really scared. I was like, God, they're going to ruin Bill and Ted for me. This is 2020. You know, nothing is sacred this year at all. Like, there's some really heinous things going down. I was like, please don't ruin Bill and Ted. So a good friend of ours watched it and made the comment that it is one of the most hopeful movies that she's seen all year. And it's the perfect movie for 2020.
Okay.
So Dan and I were like, all right, we'll take a chance. So we rented it on Amazon, which I think they're doing one of those like early access things because it was going to be released in the theater. And of course it can't be. So they're just throwing it up on Amazon for like a big fee. And we watched it, and I was so pleasantly surprised, actually. So it's it is weird, first of all, to see Keanu Reeves without the facial hair and a big ass gun or knife, or doing some kind of crazy fight scene. He is just he's Ted. He's just like, yeah, he's that guy. And they didn't overplay it. The story is really simple. It's they have to play the song, and they have a ticking clock. They have something like 6 hours, and they have to play the song at this certain place because reality as we know it is unraveling. And of course, George Carlin, who was Rufus in the original, he died, but they gave a great nod to him. They must have taken some footage that had never been used, and they used it as a hologram. So the first person they see in the future is Rufus as a hologram, welcoming them to like the Bill and Ted, place, basically. And so we meet Rufus's daughter and Rufus's wife. And Rufus's wife is the one that's like, you guys have to do this, everything is unraveling. And we find out that there are some people that actually believe instead of Bill and Ted needing to play the song, Bill and Ted actually have to be dead in order for this moment to arrive. It's kind of like their music gets like more valuable if they're not around. So they send literally a killer robot after them. And in glorious Bill and Ted style, the killer robot becomes kind of sentient and develops a conscience. And it feels really bad because the killer robot accidentally killed their kids, who are also named Bill and Ted, and who are girls. They are girls named Bill and Ted. They named them after each other. So Ted's daughter is Bill, and Bill's daughter is Ted. And please believe me when I say the actor who played, and I say actor because they are non-binary. The actor that played Ted's daughter is a non-binary actor. They must have spent hours and hours and hours going over every square inch of Keanu Reeves' performance, because they had every single mannerism and way of speaking down. It was so natural, the way she held it, or they held their body, all of it. It was like looking at Keanu Reeves in that very first film. It was wonderful. And then the actress who is the lead in Ready or Not, which is also on my list, the actress in the lead part in Ready or Not plays Bill's daughter. And the two daughters are just really fantastic. They have this great relationship. They love their dads. Their dads love and believe in them. It is probably one of the healthiest father-daughter relationships I've ever seen on screen. It's funny. It's sweet. It is very hopeful, actually. There is this the way that it ends is very hopeful and very Bill and Ted. And it was perfect. It was the perfect 90-minute escape. It hit all the right moments. There was some really funny scenes of different Bill and Ted's as they're traveling in the future. They're trying to steal the song from themselves because they have no idea what the song is supposed to be like. And they keep running into these very, very, very bitter versions of themselves. And at one point they're in prison and they have the practical makeup effects were just incredible. There's this huge like muscle body. I don't even know what it is, but they're these huge bodybuilders in prison.
Oh yeah, I saw one of those in the trailer.
Yeah, and it is hilarious. They got the same actor, I forget his name, that played Death in the second movie. He's back. He's a producer. He was one of the guys that actually put money up for this. So he's back and he's freaking hysterical. I mean, it was great. I would say it is well worth the money. It's a great escape. Go rent it.
So as much as I love my constant doom and gloom TV, you want to know the feel-good movie I watched recently?
What?
Oh crap. To All the Boys I Love.
To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I love that
But no,
one.
wait. P.S. I Still Love You.
Oh, you watched the sequel. How is that?
Not as good as the first.
Okay.
But well worth it.
Okay.
And
I was nervous. I was like, they're gonna break them up. Oh, I don't like that.
And the romance happens the way you want. You get all the goosebumps that you expect. And then when you're bitter that it's over and you're like, I just want another one. There is another one.
Yes.
They filmed it at the same time as the second one, so it will be coming out soon.
Oh my God. I'm very excited. Okay, I gotta see it then.
So
it's on the list.
Zombies, vampires, horror and gore, and that.
Sweet teenage love.
Yeah. Like, tween level romance.
Yeah. Oh, it's very, I loved the first one. All right. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk all about Jeremy.
Woo!
Desperate to read a great cape and cowl story but unable to find any on Amazon? Want a new anti-hero to love to hate? Need some women heroes in your super team rotation? Superhero Fiction is here to help. With over 300 curated superhero books and counting, you're sure to find the novel that will scratch your itch. Unless, of course, that itch is a radioactive spider bite, and then, well, you're on your own. Superherofiction.com. Real fans read.
So, Jeremy Flagg.
Can I just tell you, for all the time that we spend on podcasts or interviews or blogs or whatever, we talk about our books like literally like these people are real all the time. Heavens forbid the reporter goes, so about you.
I know, exactly.
I didn't write that book. I don't know anything about them.
I don't know what I'm supposed to tell you. It's not done yet. It's not done yet. Well, so in the introduction, you are the author of the Children of Nostradamus series, but I want to go a little further back and talk about your first book series at Zombie High. I want to know how that came about. What was the inspiration for that? Because it is hilarious. It is really, really funny. There it is, Suburban Zombie High.
So, in 2006, I got plucked right out of college to go be a teacher, and it was never in the cards. I literally took one education class in all of college. So, the department chair was at a job fair that my then boyfriend's mom was running because she was the super of that school district. So I was like, I'll show up, I'll go around, I'll talk to people. I didn't have resumes. I'm there in like jeans and a polo, like literally everyone but me was in a suit. I stood out for all the wrong reasons. And so I got the job, and it's at it's one of the top schools in Massachusetts, and it is kind of considered a pre-college school because every kid, I wish I was joking when I said that, every kid in their senior year takes 6 or 7 AP classes.
Damn.
And not some, I do mean all. It's the expectation that they do it. So I was the only class that any of these kids were taking that wasn't an AP class. And what I realized were these kids were psychotic for many, many reasons. They were intellectually smarter than me with the maturity of a 14-year-old.
That's terrifying.
And so these are the kids that could understand how the stove works, and they would figure out if it was on by sticking their head in it. And so I would watch these kids, and oh my God, they could all go to Harvard and they'd get straight A's. But a kid literally drove into a tree and couldn't understand why his car wouldn't unstick to the tree because he, kind of wrapped it around it. And it was because he kept slamming the gas while it was in drive and driving into the tree again.
Oh my God.
So there was a certain amount of ridiculousness that just was in the population. Teenagers are funny creatures to begin with, and then make them really smart, but not smart. And so as I'm watching them, like, I started getting really stressed out because my boss that hired me, she got a little bit crazy and went off the deep end and started freaking out about really weird stuff that I still to this day don't understand. And I was losing it at my job. I was only a part-time teacher, and I was working 60 to 70 hours a week.
Holy crap.
Just to keep up with the students, because that's how tedious the pace was. So I kind of snapped, and I was like,
well, yeah,
I just want to kill them all. Not in a I'm going to go to jail kind of way.
Yeah.
But I need some way to not go to jail and still kill them.
Yeah.
Oh, I can put it in a book. Well, how am I going to kill them in a book? Because I don't want it to be serious, because I don't have any ill will towards the kids.
Yeah.
The kids are part of the job. I'll kill them with zombies. Wait a second. What would happen in this school if zombies, because like zombie culture is out there. We all know it's a thing. Like, we've all watched Walking Dead. Like, we have our zombie prepared plan, not these kids. These kids are so smart and not smart that they would understand the biology about reanimating a corpse, but they wouldn't be able to figure out how biting is bad.
So they have the book smarts, but not the practical knowledge.
And so throughout the entire book, Olivia is the cheerleader, and Min is my manga-loving mouth, basically. And then Cadence is my art student, who was originally supposed to be based on me, but I had a student that I was like, you would survive. You earned it. And so throughout the entire series, she's constantly referencing the zombie manual. And she's like, dude, zombies, they wrote a book about it. And everyone else is like, that's not how it works. And so she's kind of the voice of reason. And then it got kind of it was fun. And then I was like, okay, so we need the supporting cast of teachers that understand the level of ridiculousness. And so Miss V is the librarian in that book, and Miss V is Renee Voorhees. Oh, which actually, now that I thought about it, Voorhees. Didn't think about that before. But Miss V is a real person. And Miss V lived a very colorful life. She worked for NASCAR. She ran a small independent library, and she was a card-carrying member of the NRA and had her sharpshooting license and all of this stuff. And so as the zombie apocalypse is playing out, only Miss V is ready.
The librarian. I love that you did that.
Which is also a slight nod, because my mom's a librarian, and she would research her way out of any problem. And so it's definitely built on the tropes. Like, there's the trench coat wearing conspiracy theorist, the vapid cheerleader. I mean, I take all of the stereotypes and dial them up to a 10, which at the time was a little bit nervous, because, I have a basketball player who's in love with a very strong female who happens to be Black. And so she refuses to let the woman be at home, being the caretaker. And so she basically decimates him all over the place. And, the references towards, you know, him having jungle fever and her. So it takes a lot of teen language, which, to be quite frank, is a little risque even for me.
Yeah.
And it dials it up. It's Glee level ridiculous. And it was therapy. So the first book happened, then the second book happened, and then I got a job at a new school, and I was the yearbook advisor. And so I offered my yearbook class, if they would beta read book 3, I would kill them all in the book.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
And I have never watched students sit quietly and read in my class. And I was like, guys, I didn't mean we were going to read it right now. I meant on your own time. And so there is a scene where the entire yearbook club gets destroyed. And
did they love it?
They loved it. It still to this day, it shows up on Instagram, and I keep getting tagged in it.
Aww.
So, but it was fun. And for all, again, like I said, like I love my movies like super dark and brooding, but I got a little tween love in there too.
Yeah. Because it's satire, right? It's kind of like Shaun of the Dead.
So I tell people, if you like Shaun of the Dead, if you liked Cabin in the Woods for its very meta-ness, or you liked Final Girls, or you liked Happy Death Day, you know, those horror shows that you laugh at, then this is the book for you.
Okay. That's awesome.
You know, the company that is creating the chemical is a beauty makeup company, and they're trying to find eternal life.
Oh my God. Well, they kind of did. They kind of stumbled on it. So you're a teacher. It sounds like you didn't really have a lot of aspirations towards being a writer, or was being a writer part of the plan before you wrote Zombie High?
No. So I actually, see where I've tucked it away. On my shelf, there's a bunch of editor copies, which is a polite way of saying, dear God, don't let this see the light of day ever. Suburban Zombie High was actually my second book. The first one was,
It shall not be named.
It's basically The Stand in California with superpowers.
Wow.
Which, I mean, in theory, I guess I could make that work. And then, actually, Suburban Zombie was the third one, because the second one was a zombie book in Boston, and it was very serious, very Walking Dead-ish, and it was not bringing me the relief that I needed in my writing at that time. So that's when I decided, like, okay, let's go super satirical and let's poke fun. And it's funny in the reviews, because when people are reading it, they'll say like, ugh, this is horribly immature. Well, no shit. Called Suburban Zombie High.
I know. What did they expect, honestly?
It's not Hamlet. So.
No, but if you're doing teenage zombies, I mean, crying out loud, hello. So when did you decide, like, I think I could make a go at this then? So
Suburban Zombie High came out, and it was kind of funny because, I self-published it, and I didn't edit it. It was only there so I could buy a copy of it, and it started selling. Like, I got a royalty check, and I was like,
how did that happen?
Like, did mom buy all those copies? Like, what happened here? And I mean, it wasn't like it was going to make me a living, but people read it and left reviews, and I was like, this is weird. Okay. And so shortly after that, I got let go from that job. And for the next 2 years, I was between teaching gigs. And so I went back to grad school. And during this time, I was really missing home and missing being in Maine and just, the way life was type stuff. So I started writing a blog called I Am Maine. And it's all about growing up in a small town in Maine. And I had this blog going and it started getting hits. And oh shit, I'm getting like 300 reads a day.
Damn, that's good.
The local university tried to take me to court so they could steal my name. And when someone threatens court, you're onto something. And so I used it as a fundraiser to help my elementary school buy its outdoor classroom. It was making good money. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? I only lived in Maine for 10 years. I've lived in Massachusetts longer, and no one wants to read I Am Massachusetts.
No.
Not even Massachusetts people. And so I was like, okay, well, this project is over. So I'm going to box up the blog. I'm going to turn it into a book, and I'm going to release the book. And then something really weird happened. I started paying my mortgage with this book.
Damn.
I was making quitting money. And I still to this day, I don't know why. And for 6 months, it paid for my house. And so at that point, it was no longer like, oh, look, a couple people bought my book. No, it was like, today am I going to roll around in the $1 bills or the $5 bills?
Decisions.
Like, oh man, got to go to the bank again and deposit more money. So, and yeah, I did because it was actual paper checks back then. People are buying this writing, and I Am Maine is part sad, kind of remembering what life was like. Part my town is past its prime, and so talking about the fallout of a dying town. And then some of it is hardcore hyperbole because that's who I am. And the reviews came in and they were like, this book is all over the place. This person is psycho. It's okay though, because I'm going to go cash that check again.
Yeah.
And people liked it. And I could tell that Maine people were buying it because the only people that were buying it were from either Maine or Florida.
Well, that's weird.
Which is basically Maine South. So, and it did well enough that I was like, okay, now I'm seeing that this can be a venue for income. I enjoy writing, sometimes for therapy, sometimes I just got some stupid idea that needs to come out. But after you've made that kind of money, you're like, let's do it again.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I have yet to do it again.
Well, but you went from that to dystopian superheroes, which feels like a very interesting leap, to be honest. I mean, you've got Suburban Zombie High, which is zombie satire. You have a memoir, and now you have dystopian superheroes. So how did you make the frog leap to that? I mean, was it just kind of one of those author moments where you're like, oh my God, I have this idea, I'm just going to write this book? Or
so I've always been a person who roots for the underdog. So why you don't want an underdog that, only has to, walk out the door and they've achieved their goal. So what if I bury them so incredibly deep that there's no humanly possible way they can get out of it, and spend 1,000 pages getting them out of it? Here we are. I have a superhero series to sell you. And I think some of it was probably the melancholy from writing the main book. It was kind of, and I get into it. It's where I can be a horribly depressed, and they're not depressed, but I can beat up main characters. I can murder people left and right. I can get out my rage. basically, for the most part, it lets me work through crap. And so I think for the most part, you know, and I've always been really fascinated with, while I love X-Men, like they live in a decent world. Like the only opposition they have are people hate them. Well, that's not really a big opposition. But what if there was the constant threat of something?
Yeah.
So, you know,
because it is very X-Men like. I mean, it's like, honestly, it's Days of Future Past X-Men is how my feel when I've read The Children of Nostradamus. That's how I feel like the tone is.
Well, and so like, don't get me wrong, I definitely like the X-Men later issues as well. But when you can spend a whole issue with Professor X rollerblading,
no, wait, you're kidding, right?
Yeah, he does it with Jubilee after Legacy, something Legacy.
Oh my God.
It is, and it's a really like touching up issue, but there's nothing threatening them right then. And so in my world, they still have those, you know, tender moments, but it's kind of like watching a war movie. You know what's going to happen with the war, but it's that constant barrage as the backdrop. Really kind of either brings out the best or brings out the worst in you. And, you know, my characters, some are start out on a pedestal and they fall. Some go from, you know, nothing and rise. And I really love that fascinating thing that happens when, you know, you're backed into a wall, which is probably why I like zombies, because how could you possibly sleep in the zombie apocalypse? Like,
right? God, no.
It's constant. And so even your safe, like warm, fuzzy days, you're like, oh, I'm going to have a slight romance with you. Oh, but we're also almost going to die every, you know, 15 seconds today.
Yeah.
So I've always been captivated with that idea. And so, yeah, I guess that might be how zombies secretly work their way into everything. There are zombies in one of my superhero books.
Really? Which one?
And the fourth one. They're not really zombies. They're just humans driven mad, but they're zombies.
Oh, but yeah, I know you've described them too before. Yeah, it's a dark series. That makes sense. That it's kind of therapy in a way. You're like, I need to get these feelings out. I need to get these thoughts out. I'm going to write it like this. And that's an interesting way to approach it, I think.
And I think I'm not a light fuzzy person in general. But I have a lot of light fuzzy moments. So,
well, to balance it out, I think like you got to have some breaks. You got to give a reader a breather here and there.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like my books are, like, one of them opens with a funeral, and the next, like, there's a nuke at the end. Like, I know that I was being pretty brutal, but you know, you've seen with Game of Thrones that there's only so much brutality before you're like, oh, again.
Yeah, exactly. You become desensitized to it. You're just like, yeah, whatever.
And so, you know, you got to have some of those fun moments in the middle. And I kid you not, making Conthan jog up 3 flights of stairs is still one of my favorite scenes in the whole series.
So tell us why. For people that don't know who Conthan is, tell us why.
So Conthan is my protagonist. The story kind of follows him as he discovers he has the ability to teleport. He opens portals and he can walk through them. And he is a big old chubby dude. And so when he gets the ability to teleport, he basically is like, this is the solution to all my problems. And so at the end of the book, he's not able to use his abilities. They've kind of been taken from him. And his partner, like the team that he's on, they're all running up the stairs and he's like, you guys, go on and get killed by the crazy telepath. I'm going to stay here and get defeated by the first flight of stairs. And people are reading that going, oh my God, that's me. That's me right there. So I definitely bring a lot of real into these aren't your ideal abd filled. My women are either rugged, crazy, or, well, no, I guess it's pretty wide range. Yeah, all of the guys in my books are kind of big dudes, which
I love that.
there's no abs
I
anywhere.
love it.
No
Do you
spandex.
get a lot of readers relating to the characters in that respect, like kind of like maybe finally seeing themselves represented in a superhero story, because we don't get to see a lot of bigger people play the hero like that.
The thing that pops up most often is people mention the sarcasm, because
Okay.
Thompson's got a tongue made by Gillette, and so he is constantly making these dumbass comments that, you know, people roll their eyes, but you know these people in real life.
Mhm.
One of the younger women on the team, her name is Skits, and she's crazy. I mean, she is an intense bowl of crazy.
Okay.
But she has some of like the wisest moments when everyone else is freaking out. Like, she's like, practical answer for you, and everyone else is like, did you just say something wise? Like, and the whole time, you know, she's chugging Mountain Dew out of a bottle. So Deadpool. I mean,
Got
the things people like about Deadpool do show up, because I like to be the eye roll guy. My tagline is literally sarcastic kind of guy.
So I know you have done some casting with your fans for the books, but I guess I want to narrow it down, to Conthan, because I bet you have thought of who you would want to play Conthan if they ever made a movie about your books.
So, oh God, now I've been called out, and I'm not going to remember the name.
Do you want to come back to this? Do you want to look for him?
Well, it's funny because, and when I say the name, you're going to know. He was in Reaper.
I never saw Reaper.
Oh my God, go watch it.
Okay, I got to add it to the list. I'm going to be catching up on so many freaking shows.
It got canceled after like 2 or 3 seasons, so it unfortunately doesn't last very long. But it is worth every moment. Tyler Labine.
Oh my God, that does sound really familiar.
Okay. He is just this is gonna sound weird. He's the right kind of cute. So you're like, oh, you're too adorable to be a badass. He's the right level of sarcasm where you're like, did that really just come out of your mouth? And he's the right level of, I'm gonna try and be a good guy. I'm doing horrible at this, but I can try it.
I can do it.
Did you ever see Tucker and Dale and Tucker? Oh God.
No. Okay, I'm just gonna look him up, because I mean, the other thing I wanted to ask was Labine. Oh, there we go. So Suburban Zombie High. Oh, that guy. Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking. Wow, he does look like how I imagined Conthan. Holy crap.
Because I supplied the image that you're looking at to my cover artist.
Oh, did you? Because he does look so much like what's on your cover. It's incredible.
Granted.
Yeah, it's the Amazon thing across it. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
And I had a review even say, was this role made for Tyler Labine? And I was like, score.
So Suburban, I feel like Suburban Zombie High is the kind of show that would get greenlit around this time, because people are looking for content that's very funny but yet still has kind of a dark edge. And so if you were approached by, let's say, Netflix and they said, we want to turn Suburban Zombie High into a television show. Do you have somebody that you're like, I want this person to run it? I want this person to be in charge of it. Is there anybody that's created a show that you're like, you would be perfect to bring this to life?
It's going to be an interesting mix, because for the jokes to get pulled off, you need someone like the folks at like Kimmy Schmidt.
Okay.
Like,
that makes sense. I could see that.
There's a lot of making fun of yourself that in the book it reads dry, because you know, you're trying to imagine a 14-year-old saying this stuff, but on screen they would need to, like, Olivia would have to be the right level of vapid so that she still has some redeeming qualities. But the moment you're like, oh, I kind of do like you now, oh no, never mind. So I think
that's perfect.
You definitely need someone like that, but I will say the show. Oh, you know who might actually do a decent job, and this pains me to say this. The dude from Glee.
Oh, that would hurt me too, to have to admit that. Yeah.
Ryan.
I mean, yeah, I don't remember his last. I know you're talking about. Yeah, he actually though he's got such a weirdly diverse. When you look at what he has produced, you're like, holy crap, it's all over the place.
But like, there's definitely a lot of those meta moments. So, and you know, Glee did have those occasionally.
It did.
But the Netflix show Daybreakers, which is unfortunately dangerously close.
Yes.
Santa Clarita.
Oh, there we go.
Actually,
so Drew Barrymore.
I just really want Drew Barrymore to produce my series. That's the answer right there.
Yeah. I love Drew Barrymore. Oh my God. She could be the librarian. She could totally pull off the librarian.
Or no, she would have to be the sexy school nurse. Who the only thing she can do is give you a cold compress. She does randomly have sex with one of the teachers, and he falls in love with her, and then she might sacrifice him because she doesn't want to deal with that drama.
Okay, I could totally see Drew Barrymore doing that. It'd be hilarious.
And
oh my God,
like borderline Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah. Type. Okay. Oh my God.
But yeah, it would be fun, and like Daybreakers was a really great show, and I really liked it. It's the right age group, but even though the tone had moments, the shenanigans level for that was too serious.
I got it. Okay.
Whereas Santa Clarita was just like rational situation should be at like a 6, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna come in at a 12. This is our base. So yeah, I'm gonna send Drew Barrymore a message after this and just be like, hey, by the way,
you should send her a copy.
I got you a script.
Yeah. So we're getting close to an hour, and I want to give you a chance to talk about the book that you have coming out this month. It's in a couple of weeks, actually. Or is it next week?
It's Monday.
It's Monday. Oh my God. So talk to us about this new book.
So, and this book is a lot different in a lot of ways. First, my superhero, it's in my superheroes universe. So I am going to give you a bit of a spoiler. It doesn't matter. It happens in the first chapter. The superhero series starts out with this elderly psychic who works with the president, helping her make presidently decisions. And she knows something's up and that something wrong is coming. And so she tries to stop it, and she gets killed. And so I got hate mail. Like, how dare you kill the adorable elderly lady in the first chapter? And um, I, I actually, and I will never say this, but I actually felt bad for killing a character. Normally, I sit down with glee. And so she dies, and what happens is she's a psychic. She knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. So before she died, she sent letters to all these people, and she was altering their fate. All these people in this book were really close together, but never meeting. And so she did really slight things and altered it so they started bumping into one another.
Huh. Okay.
So she effectively made this team appear. And so the series finished, and she was only meant to be the catalyst, but like there's some questions about why she did things she did, and was she really a good guy, and like cast everything into doubt. And so I was like, you know what, she deserves some attention. My readers literally sent me messages saying I want more of her.
Wow. And she was just like that first chapter. That's amazing.
She literally didn't make it to the last paragraph. And so I thought, well, okay, she dies in 1992, so she was in her 80s. So let me start backpedaling. Like, I'm going to set this against the backdrop of World War II. I in my art background, I did a lot of research into propaganda posters. So I know a lot of weird stuff about it. And so instead of being this very dismal backdrop, it's set against World War II. And I don't need to do a lot of explaining to tell you how dismal the world was.
Yeah.
You just simply know. So the camera stays very close to her, whereas in the original series, there's 7 point of view characters. There's 1. And it follows her as she she's had her powers her whole life, but now she's starting to feel like maybe I need to do something with them. And her roommate named Susan Lee, who is my mother, actually, decided, she is wrapping bandages for the war effort, and she's knitting socks for the soldiers, and she's doing all of this. And she's like, well, if my roommate is helping out, I'm going to find somewhere to help out. And so she essentially becomes kind of a vigilante. And there's killings that are happening in New York because there's no police force. There's no on, and the women are busy working. And so people start getting scared to be out in New York. And she's like, I got a gift. I can make this work. And so we're introduced to her almost a street level detective, though she doesn't ever quite get that together. And then she finds there's someone else like her. And that begins a whole new chapter of her life. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of her past as a child. Horrible things happen to her, and she's brutally traumatized by it. I don't pull punches, because if your 7-year-old daughter came up to you and told you your husband was going to die, and then it happened, and you're a God-fearing woman, like,
that would be a little freaky.
So she has like all these troubled issues from her past that don't so much play into it, because she's already kind of made peace with it, because I didn't want to rehash it over and over again.
Yeah.
So she's moving forward. So there's mobsters, there's secret societies, there's Claudette, my favorite Haitian woman in the world. And so it's very personal.
Got it.
Her story. And I decided to do something different, because in the other books, Conklin is the main character, but it's not really his story. She is almost in a weird way telling the story that she saw.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't explain that in the book because that's just too much. That'll be in the DVD commentary. Drew Barrymore, call me. No, Drew Barrymore, don't call me for this series.
We need different showrunners for this.
Yeah,
Let's get the
different showrunners.
Let's get the Jessica Jones team online for this one.
Yeah. And so it's a little bit more lighthearted because there's a lot more. She's moving towards being in this dark place, towards a position of hope, and steadily she's moving towards it, and she keeps getting knocked down, but she's got her eyes on a good prize.
Got it. Okay.
So I thought it was nice in the fact that, she's a woman out of time. She's seen the future. She knows woman's lib is coming. She knows Hitler's going to die. She knows all of this, but all she can do is wait. And so, it talks a lot about what would it be like for someone to live in the now when they know everything that's going to happen.
Wow.
And so I've written, the second book is already out to the editor. The third book is done. And the sequel series to hers is outlined and ready to go.
Wow.
So she was a really good character in the fact that she's not an archetype I've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
She's a strong, independent female, but which is super cliche, and I even hate saying it.
She's a three-dimensional woman.
Well, and so, on the first draft, she was a strong, independent woman. And I was like, that's kind of flat. So there's a romance plot line. There's a vulnerability thing that goes on through it. And I was like, oh my God, you're becoming human. So I'm super excited for it. It's kind of cool in the fact that it's set in the 40s.
The cover art is gorgeous for this book. And
my favorite piece of this whole thing is Nighthawks is actually named after Edward Hopper's painting. And so it's my favorite painting in all the world. I weirdly don't have a copy of it in this room. It's in 3 rooms in my house.
Oh, jeez. There we go.
Not that one, but
it is Edward Hopper.
And so he's Compton's favorite artist, and that's how Nighthawks becomes the name.
Got it.
And then this just so happens, who does Eleanor get to meet? Edward Hopper. She's the first person to see his painting. And no one likes Edward Hopper. I mean, he's kind of a douche.
Yeah.
Josephine Hopper, however, she's a baller. So the whole story, the whole plot line is told through the point of view of women, and mostly how women get shit done.
I love that. I absolutely love it.
So in Josephine Hopper, the love letters that she wrote to her husband were a lot of the inspiration for that. So it was really fun to get rid of the men. And, there's still plenty of men. They still play a role, but it's not their story.
Yeah.
So.
And good on you for taking that on and writing a superhero series with women.
And she's not super because she botches left and right. And for a woman who can see the future, she does get stabbed a lot. It works in the plot, but even I feel like you can't get stabbed again. We need to do something else.
We need something else here.
So yeah, that comes out on Monday. So I'm super stoked. It's gonna make me $1 million, and I'm gonna fund my own movie.
Yay! So we are out of time, but tell everybody where they can find you and your books, please.
Oh, again, authors are so bad at this stuff.
They are totally.
And we interview authors all the time. And
I know. And we don't do it for ourselves. It's just not intuitive.
So you can find everything on Amazon. You can look up Jeremy Flagg, or you can go to childrenofnostradamus.com. It's horribly difficult to spell. It's horrible difficulty for me to say. So you can also find all my books on remyflagg.com. But basically just look up Notre Dame superheroes and they're there.
You are also on superherofiction.com.
Oh yeah. See, again, really bad at plugging.
That's all right. That's what I'm here for.
It's so much easier to say that. Superhero-fiction.com. Go find my books there.
Yep. They're all there. And you have audiobooks too. So they're in print, they're in large print, ebook, and audiobook format.
Basically, if there's a format, I made it happen.
They're in it.
And my narrator is narrating this very moment.
That is awesome.
So
all right,
that's coming out pretty soon.
Thank you for chatting today, being in the hot seat.
Now I'm thinking of my questions.
I know next week I'm going to be in the hot seat, so it's a little nerve-wracking.
We'll start out with easy. Like, what's your favorite ice cream?
So I have a question of the week for our listeners. What question do you have for Jeremy? What do you want to know about his series? What do you want him to write next? What do you think he should be thinking about putting out there? Drop a comment either with podcast or in our superhero fiction reader group. We have the questions of the week there as well. And thank you for listening this week.
Yeah, kind of ask me anything.
Ask him anything.
Guy is not in my DNA. So.
It really isn't. All right, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye. To stay up to date with the Geekorama podcast, you can watch our videos on YouTube or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a review or hit the thumbs up button. New episodes are released on Thursdays for podcast listeners and YouTube fans.